Lights are out on the pace car. A flat, fast, smooth 2-mile track. 500 miles here in California. Start in the sun and end up under the bright lights of Hollywood. The green flag's in the air. NASCAR is racing on NBC. Strong start by Kurt Busch.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, obviously you want to, if you're in that position to lead, go ahead and do it. I mean, you know, because it's real important to have clean air on your car. This is one of those racetracks where you'll see a lot of drafting on the straightaways, but you'll see these cars spread out in the corners because you don't want to get that into that aero situation in the corner. So you see guys just, they get to the corners and they all fan out. They're all looking for that air, for that downforce. Push those Goodyear tires down to the racetrack and get some grip.
Scott Riggs is stuck in that high groove, getting passed on the inside. That's Truex Jr. going by him. You see the colors on the ticker. Green indicates guys that are in the chase. The yellow, the guys on the bubble, like Casey Kane in 11th. The red, drivers eliminated, but are still racing for the win here in California tonight. Earnhardt Jr. up to 4th. Pit Road report on Jeff Burton from Allen Bestwood.
Bill, Jeff Burton, very loose, very relaxed when I talked with him earlier this afternoon. He's had some troubles finishing races the last couple of weeks, not falling out of them, but running up front, leading laps, wow, that was close, and not being able to get the win. It's been a long dry spell. Burton says they think they understand what their issue's been in the final laps of races. They hope to come away with the big trophy tonight.
Scott Riggs has his hands full.
Well, he did after Burton took the air off the spoiler. And like I said, it's one of those places where everything is very aero-dependent. You can get underneath a guy. We saw a lot of loose race cars last night. This track right now is slippery, and I mean, you'll see a lot of guys being loose right now. Look at how bad the sun is going into 3. That's what these guys are fighting. It's out of Jeff Burton's car, and what you do is you have a clear visor on your helmet, and then you put these dark tear-offs on. So it actually is like having a smoked visor, but when it gets dark and you get those visors off, you'll have a clear visor.
There's Riggs in the 10, Casey Kane right behind him, Matt Kenseth in the 17 on the inside.
And you're drafting here, I mean, straightaways are long, it's fast. If you've got 3 or 4 cars that are lined up on the outside and you're the only guy on the inside, you're not going to pass them. You're going to get passed.
You talk about the engine builders on the countdown to green. The wind here blowing down the front stretch from turn 4 to turn 1. That's where you turn the most RPM. They're really going to be hustling down the front stretch, going into the wind down the back stretch.
Yeah, you look at the RPMs, a lot of RPMs. They don't really drop in the corners. So you're, like I said, you're getting down the throttle, but you're carrying so much speed here. You're always up there in the RPMs. You got something on 24, Matt?
Well, you see him running in line there, Wally. Now, he, like a lot of other drivers, he's got those dark tear-offs on his windshield. You see him dive to the bottom. Now, the big thing about tonight, Steve Letarte told me, they just need to keep their car in contention until the sun goes down. Then they feel like it's game on from that point on. And keep in mind, Gordon has 3 wins in the Coca-Cola 600. A similar type race where we start out in the daylight and then we go into the darkness. He seems to excel at a place where you've got to stay ahead of the racetrack.
All the practice here for the Nextel Cup Series was done much earlier in the day as opposed to the start time for this race.
I just point out, look at the hood of the 17 car, right where the W is. It's like it's sucked down around the air cleaner. I don't really see that on a lot of the other cars, but you could really notice it when it's down when it's coming down the straightaway. It just see if we can get a better shot when it comes down the straightaway. You'll see it'll be sucked down right on the W. See how it's sucked down on the air cleaner?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of strange.
That gives him more front down for it.
Hey, he's running pretty good. 10th spot right now.
More on Kenseth from Dave Burns.
Wally, when they were going through tech today, they were banging on the front end of that with the hammer. Apparently NASCAR didn't like something they saw with the valence. There were a lot of guys trying to go through there with a little extra kick out on the front end, but they did have to modify it just a little bit before they were allowed to compete today.
Yeah, it looks like the hood's just really thin. You can see it popping up and down. Pretty good, like I said. Jeff Gordon took that spot away from Kansas.
They did all their practicing at a time much different than the hours the race was going to be held. A lot of guys in the garage were very upset about the practice schedule here as opposed to the race. These guys really don't know what they've got because they haven't been on this track under these conditions.
Yeah, I don't even know why they have a practice session in the middle afternoon. And there's a lot of guys did not run that practice session because the track temperatures were going to be 25, 30 degrees hotter than what they were going to be racing. Hey, let me tell you something. That completely changes the handle of your car, Alan.
And Bill, that's exactly the message that Kenny Francis, the team director for Casey Kane, told me today when I talked to him about if he was able to anticipate changes he would be able to make to his car as the sun set. He said we literally had no idea what to expect tonight. We're just hoping we make the right adjustments. He feels like with his car's handling, as the sun goes down, it's going to lose rear grip. And that's what they're going to be planning for, but he said, really, we don't know.
One driver said it was like looking at a golf course in the middle of the night and having to tee off the next morning when the sun was out, not knowing what you were going to get. Robbie Gordon has spun.
Stay right there where you're at.
In front of a lot of cars.
Sure did.
Looks like he's got a left rear flat, but we can't tell if that happened during the spin or before the spin. Doesn't look like he hit anything, though.
Fire, left rear flat.
Says he has a left rear flat, so he heads down pit road, first caution of the race.
You can see that there was the center section of the tire ripped off, like Yaley's tire last night in the Busch car. He may have made contact with somebody that ripped that tire. A lot of guys do a good job missing that.
Casey Kane is the race leader after taking just 2 right side tires. Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, Elliott Sadler the top 5. Elliott Sadler also a 2-tire stop. And you will see pit strategy throughout the day. We saw it in this race a year ago, we saw it in the spring. How you manage your tires and how you control your fuel mileage. Big factors here at California. Denny Hamlin in the 11, Dale Earnhardt Jr. looking under Elliott Sadler.
If he can see. The sun is really bad in that situation right now. It's probably the worst it's going to be. And you actually can lose sight of the guy that you're passing when you go underneath down there in that corner because it just blinds you for a couple seconds.
Trying to keep track of some of these guys. Mark Martin started deep in the field, 38th. Restarted 24th after the pit stops. Jeff Burton.
Trying to get 7th away from Sadler. Looks like he's going to do it. Sadler slides up the racetrack a little bit.
4 tires instead of 2.
Yeah.
More on Sadler from Marty.
And Bill, that was a 2-tire stop last time for Elliott Sadler, as you reported. And they had some problems yesterday in practice. The car extremely tight. In fact, Elliott would say the car was bouncing around on new tires. So what they did this morning, they put their teammates set up on. Casey Kane trying to make the car a little bit better. I asked Elliott, said, can he drive the same kind of setup Casey Kane can? He said, I have no idea, but we're all going to find out together.
And that's something these Evernham teams have been working on. Jeremy Mayfield really didn't want to try and drive a Casey Kane setup, and they weren't getting a lot of exchange of information. And Elliott Sadler, when he went over there, said, I'm going to try it and see how it works out.
Oh, man, Kurt Busch drove in there, got the car sideways underneath the 24. Now both cars had grappling help down the straightaway, so Jeff Gordon and Kurt Busch they went in the corner pretty even. Slides up the racetrack, hammer way up there. Jeff Gordon had to back out of the throttle too. He had that 11 car up above him and he had to get out of the gas.
More on Hamlin from AB.
Would you guess that Denny Hamlin told his crew before the pit stop his car ran well up high?
I believe you.
Yeah, he did. A little adjustment on the pit stop to try and help Hamlin getting into the corner, but Hamlin running well so far.
Lost all my drive off with that.
But he radioed
I'm getting good. I'm good everywhere, but just nothing off the corner.
He'll probably lose a couple at the start here for taking those 2 right side tires instead of 4, but we'll be okay. Matt?
And Jeff Gordon's dropped a few spots. He just told his team on the radio the car is good everywhere, but he still needs a little help on exit of the corner. Gordon was tight before that pit stop. He took 2 tires to move him up a few spots.
Behind Kenseth. On board with Gordon. That sun's going to get brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And I mean, it's hard to explain, but really, get down that corner, and you can't see for a second. Ooh, 17 is off the pace. I don't know if you just slid up the racetrack and had to
You
jump
say
out.
clear, you're saying still out there. Don't say that.
Speed now.
Jeff Burton looking under Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, these guys are really moving around. These cars are really sliding around right now. Look at how bad that sun is. Burton down in a 3. Try to roll underneath Gordon. And this is where you need to kind of be ahead of him and drift up the racetrack. Burton's got a pretty good car right now. Gordon's not able to get on the gas. You heard he was a little bit tight.
Right.
So he's letting that car roll for a long time, and he can't get on the gas as soon as he wants to. That's why he's losing some spots from the middle off.
Teammate Kyle Busch behind him. Kurt Busch trying to recapture the lead. Falls in behind Kane. Denny Hamlin runs 3rd. More on Casey Kane from Allen.
Well, Bill, just before the caution flag pit stop, Casey Kane told his team they were better than where they were running. Remember, he was back in traffic a little bit, so they went with a 2-tire stop to try and get him some track position, some of that clean air on the nose of his car. He's got the lead right now. Kurt Busch talked about before the pit stop that the front end of his car, the aerodynamic part of that front bumper, was very sensitive, and he needed it to be right down in the racetrack all the way. They said if it was an inch up off the racetrack, it completely changed the handling of the car, so they made an adjustment to try and keep that front end glued to the racetrack and help his car through the corners.
Looks like they accomplished that. Hanging with Kane. Allen was talking about Kurt talking to his crew. Gets a little technical, but we listened in.
When the car has very fresh tires, I can drive up into the corner and I can feel the shock travel, and the car is down. So on lap 4, we got loose, and the whole car just jumps up out of the racetrack, and now we don't have that downforce. So bottom line, I'm just saying the Dodge is very sensitive to being on the ground versus being up an inch or so.
And I think that inch or so he's talking about when the tires build pressure. You get that, that's where what he's talking about. When these guys first start and they put new tires on a car, the pressures are down a little bit, so your ride heights are down a little bit. The closer to the ground you can run, the more grip you're going to have.
You got this, Allen?
Well, but just that it's part of, you heard Kurt talk about the Dodge. It's part of what Kurt and his team have been going through this year. Kurt has been driving Fords the last few years for Roush Racing. So he's not only getting used to a new team and the new chassis setups that have come rolling into the sport this year, but also the sensitivities of a different body style that he's been used to driving. It's all something a driver has to adjust to from the car, and I think it's taken Kurt a little bit longer to get the feel for some of that this year than he was expecting in March.
And Dodge will have a new nose and new hood for 2007. Matt Kenseth is second in the championship standings. Is dropped back all the way to 10th. Dave, what's going on with Kenseth?
Well, Matt came on the radio right after you guys noticed that he had fallen back, and he said, "What was that?" Spotter radio back. We'll go have a word. And then Matt said, "Guys, the next time that happens, there's going to be a big wreck. Obviously contact with someone, not sure who, but it set him back."
Well, let's see if we can't find out who he might be talking about. A few laps ago. Kenseth in the 17.
Well, he just got a little bit loose up there. I mean, the 31 wasn't really close enough to take the air off. I mean, it didn't help, but it looks like he just got pinned up there and the car got loose. Dave?
And Matt just radioed back to the crew explaining a little bit more. He said, and he was talking about Jeff Gordon. Okay, I know he didn't mean to run me like that, but the car is so incredibly loose right now, I need some room out here.
Yeah, I can see that, you know, where Jeff kind of slid up the racetrack, and maybe Matt had to avoid that a little bit, but had nothing to do really with the 31.
Because it looked like Gordon had a good run coming off the turn, and Matt did not. Kasey Kahne, a winner here last night, using great pit strategy. With about 55 laps to go, got him into victory lane. But don't take anything away. He had a very strong car and a strong run last night for Kahne. Kasey 11th in the championship standings. You can see how close it is right now. More on Kasey from Allen.
Miller relates to the guy that's racing in for the lead there, the 11 car, Denny Hamlin. I talked with Denny in his team's transporter this morning. He told me about his championship position. He said, really, the only car we're racing on here is the 9. Trying to make sure we stay ahead of him and gain points and lock ourselves into the chase. Funny that now they're racing for the lead here, huh?
Exactly right. Kasey Kahne out front in California with Denny Hamlin and Kurt Busch chasing. Just one race before the cutoff after this one. Kasey Kahne from Washington trying to claw his way in.
4 of them here behind us. Try to figure something out. Outside, he's there. Outside. Outside. There, still there. Clear. Clear. Looking outside again. Outside. Lined up. Bottom. Right on your quarter. Clear, clear. Right behind you. Caution's out. Caution's out.
We're under caution. Take a look at our Team Chevy drivers to watch in their best California finish. The caution is for debris in turn 2. The pace car has just picked up the field. Pit road is open and everybody's coming down again. Dave Burns.
Green flag, green flag, green flag. Inside, inside. 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 Clear.
Green flag has just come out here in California. Denny Hamlin and Kurt Busch side by side for the lead.
Trying to stick on the low side, but Kurt Busch has got a pretty good run up on the high side. Now we'll see who Burton goes with. He doesn't really commit to anybody. Commits to the 2 car there at the end.
Last night, different parts of the track worked differently during the race.
Yeah, it really did, and I think it'll change again. I mean, the high side lost a lot of grip later on in the race. See Boyer down underneath Burton. That's for 3rd spot.
Teammates right there. Drive for car owner Richard Childress.
Got to be careful of pinching a guy off here in the corner, because if you're Boyer on the low side and you're underneath another car going through the corner and you're too close to that car on the outside, it can turn you around. It takes the air off your spoiler and you can spin around real easy. That's why you can't go into the corner side by side just leaning on each other. Real tricky here.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, that 2 car's been doing that all day. Earnhardt Jr. had some trouble on that restart. He was 5th on the restart, and he's back to 13th right now. I don't know if he missed a shift or what happened, but Matt, what happened on that restart?
Well, he just came on the radio and said, driver error, apologize for that. I just messed up, meaning he missed a shift when he was starting to go through the gears on the restart.
That's what it looked like, and if you do that, and 40 other guys don't miss a shift, you lose a lot of ground.
And we talked about this at Indianapolis, and it's very similar here. The field gets strung out. Restarts here can be a real adventure.
Let's listen. Let's see if we can hear what happens. You know what? He didn't miss it. He just didn't anticipate it. He was way down on the RPMs when they threw the green. Those guys took off, so he didn't miss a shift. He just didn't time it right.
He was laying back, then he closed up, and then he had to get out of the gas, and then they went and left him.
Yeah, they sounded like he was in too tall of a gear, too. I don't know if that was the case, but regardless, I don't think he'll let that happen again.
Earnhardt back in 13th. Carl Edwards right behind him, then Tony Stewart. That green car is Brian Vickers.
And these 3 guys love each other. Whoa, 17 a little bit loose.
Jeff Burton for 2nd. Boyer, his teammate. Kurt Busch back to 4th.
And you can see how they fan out in the corner. They want to get away from each other going through this corner. They need all the racetrack they can get. Track is still very slippery. These guys are hanging on right now. They're looking forward to the track cooling down. Cools down, they'll get a little bit more grip with these cars.
All right, let's take you through the field, starting with Allen.
And starting with the race leader, Denny Hamlin, who comes into this race tonight, 6th in the overall championship standings and a chance to lock in his place in the chase. Not really many complaints about the handling of his car so far. He thought if he could get out in front, he could make some time, and he's doing just that. 2nd place runner is Jeff Burton. He's just taken that spot away from Kurt Busch. Jeff Burton loves the pressure of the race to the chase. He says this is what professional sports are all about. I can't wait to take my shot in these 2 races. Matt?
Allen, his teammate in the 07, Clint Boyer, the only thing on his mind, getting this car to victory lane. Had a great career, best at Indy. Finished 4th with this race car. On his way to a 3rd until they lost the engine. The car was loose earlier and then a little tight. They made an air pressure adjustment. Currently rides 3rd, AB.
The 2-tire stop for Casey Kane earlier got him some track position, moved him up from his 9th starting spot. Now they took 4 tires on this last stop as Casey tries to race his way into the top 10 tonight with a top 5 finish. Kyle Busch, a chance to lock in his position in the championship. He's running 5th in this race. He took the green flag back in 10th position. On the last pit stop, a 4-tire change and an air pressure adjustment for Kyle Busch to try and help the grip on his car.
His teammate Jeff Gordon has his hands full with Kurt Busch in his mirror. His other issue, like everyone else here tonight, is battling the sun early going.
It's a huge problem. I think a lot of drivers were concerned with it last year, and I understand for TV purposes, East Coast, West Coast.
25, all 255.
Race started at a certain time, but I think we also need to take into consideration the safety factor of it out there on the racetrack, and I don't think it's fully being taken, into consideration because. Honestly, no matter what I do with trying to block the sun and as dark of a shield as I can possibly get, that sun is so bright here and so strong that I pretty much go into turn 3 blind for a good part of the beginning of that race.
Gordon trying to get this car back to victory lane, but he hasn't had a top 10 here in Fontana for 2.5 years, Dave.
And Matt, the 29 car, Kevin Harvick, they're talking about vision as well, but shade overcoming the speedway. Car owner Richard Childress along with Kevin Spotter telling you where people are running and where the shade is going over the racetrack. It can change the way your car handles, Alan.
Well, some tough sledding here for Kurt Busch in the the Blue Deuce. He was running second just a little while ago. Now he slipped back to 8th position. Reporting he has no rear-end grip on his car. Doesn't like the last adjustment they made on the pit stop. As crew chief Roy McCauley says, we'll undo it next time, Dave.
Matt Kenseth is running about where he restarted. Remember, he had an incredibly loose race car. Those were his words. They made a chassis and an air pressure adjustment to try to help Matt. Matt?
And Dale Earnhardt Jr., you saw trying to bounce back from that early miscue on the restart. Now, Junior's other concern, radio issue. That takes us the earplug connector that goes into his helmet. But like everything with this driver and this team, they continue to progress with maturity.
There'll always be radio fights. We're pretty much like brothers, and we're always going to have our disagreements, but there's a whole lot more respect back and forth now. We treat each other like grown men, and instead of just little punk cousins. So it's a big difference and a great weight off my shoulders this season, and his too, I'm sure.
Dale Jr. was 10th. Now it looks like he's going to lose another spot to Tony Stewart, who was pinned on the bottom. Stewart said earlier the car was extremely loose, but we are going to be in great shape. I am just cruising, and it shows as he tries to take another spot from the 17 at Kenseth, Marty.
Man, I would describe Jimmie Johnson's progress as plodding forward. He started 16th today, currently up to the 12th position for Johnson. He was very tight, having no front grip up high on the racetrack. Did several things to fix that. One, he moved to the bottom of the racetrack. They also made a wedge adjustment, and he dialed in a little more rear brake to the car as well, Matt.
And Carl Edwards in the 99. Now, you heard him in our pre-race show talk about the fact that he's got such a huge hole to try to dig out of. Now, he just wants to get this car into victory lane and work as Junior bobbles a little bit down on the bottom, just trying to get this team back on track like they were last year, AB.
Well, Greg Biffle with an outstanding record here at California Speedway, trying to get some wins before this season ends. His chances to get into the chase, well, they're pretty slim with just 2 races to go. Biffle says his team just waiting until darkness. They think their car will come alive then. Matt?
Brian Vickers started on the outside of the front row, thought he might have his best shot of scoring that first win, but the car too tight in the center while he's trying to run the bottom. He's tried to move up to the high side to see if that will help fix his bias issue. It hasn't yet. Snyder?
Mark talked to Pat Tryson, the crew chief for Mark Martin this morning, and he told me, I want to make it to lap 50 and try and be in the top 15. Look at this, lap 44, Mark Martin from 38th to 15th. They've made it to the part of the race they were really concerned about. They have made no changes on both of their stops. They, however, have some radio problems, not with Mark's radio. Someone's radio on the team is sticking. They've been having trouble finding it all afternoon long, Bill.
Thanks, guys. Those are the top 15. Vickers, Sorensen, McMurray, Nemechek, and Casey Mears, the top 20. Every car is on the lead lap.
And that's very, very aggravating what Marty's talking about. Having the radio stuck open. Here you see Kenseth and Kurt Busch running for position. If you hear that, it's very, very annoying. Because all you're hearing is noise or background noise or whatever, and it's just shut that radio off.
Alan?
Bill, we're going to continue to see Kurt Busch in that 2 car slide back. He said the back end of his car is so loose right now, wiggling around, that he just doesn't want to get too close to anyone for fear he's going to wreck. A little while ago, he called into the team and told them to go get a new right front spring ready for the car, just in case, perhaps some concern that the right front spring on that car may have gone sour.
If he stays up high, Kevin Harvick trying to clinch a spot in the chase.
Don't forget, those guys talked about trying some things,
right.
The 2 car of Kurt Busch, so maybe they went in the wrong direction.
And they'd rather find that out now than when they come back here in the spring. Harvick in 8th, Kenseth in 9th. Right now, Denny Hamlin, the rookie, out front in California. 2 wins this year, both at Pocono, in that exact car. It has been a remarkable season for this rookie. Now, can he race his way into the chase?
great laps. You'll catch them in no time. Just keep hitting your mark. Clear by 8, back to the 16.
Denny Hamlin continues to lead here at California. Jeff Gordon has moved into second, and it's Casey Kane, Jeff Burton, and Kyle Busch are AutoZone in the zone drivers here. While they talked about it on the Bank of America Countdown to Green, Casey Kane, 3 top 10 finishes here in his last 4 races. Jamie McMurray and Carl Edwards have both run well here. Edwards really needs to get himself a win and hope the other guys have a little bad luck. His chances of making the chase are pretty slim.
Yeah, he needs quite a few guys have bad luck right now. There's that sun. It's not getting any better yet.
It's the old story. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Exactly. And it gets to a point. You heard Jeff talking about. I mean, it gets to a point where you go down into turn 3, and you can't see anything for about 2 seconds. Great feeling at 185, 190 miles per hour.
Denny Hamlin, top 12 finishes in 8 of the last 10 races, 6 top 10s in the last 6. It's just been marvelous to watch this year, and surrounded with a really strong team, not only here at the track, but back at the shop as well. Hamlin was 12th here in the spring. There's Kurt Busch still struggling with that race car.
And Kurt Busch doesn't want anybody behind him. I mean, because I'll tell you what, if he's loose by himself, if you get another car behind you, it makes it 10 times worse. So I think Alan, he's just looking for an opportunity to get in the pits and trying to help that car.
He's looking for a caution.
Clear all around.
He's not in.
3 car lengths back to the 16.
Sorry, AB, but man, he looked like he was drifting.
He did. So when you were behind the wheel of these race cars, Wally, is that how you reacted when a car got sideways like that?
A couple different words, I would say.
That's what I thought.
Not old man.
Yeah. I tell you, one of the big goals for this team today, Wally and Bill, they've had good race cars at a couple of recent races and haven't gotten to the finish. Roy McCauley, the crew chief, told me their big goal for today was to finish all the laps, not hit anything, and not get any penalties. Right now, Kurt's just hanging on, trying to reach that goal, huh?
Yeah, because if he keeps going like that, he's going to hit something.
He will be the caution.
On board with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Down the backstretch.
He's got a tinted visor there too, and that looks like a tear-off. Matt, is that a tear-off? It's a pretty big tear-off if it is.
Wally, he has a tear-off on his visor, but also just in case he still battles issues with the sun. As a backup, he has a huge piece of duct tape stuck to the roof. We got a battle for the lead of Gordon, who said he just needs help with drive-off. Looks like they finally got it for him as he tries to work that 24 car into the front.
Talk to Jeff Gordon.
Gordon's going to take it, and get back to Matt's point, it doesn't matter what you have. That sun gets to the point where it doesn't matter how dark a visor you have. You cannot see. And there will be about a 5-lap, 10-lap window there going into 3 where you're blind. It doesn't matter what you have. So if you're going to wreck somebody, that's a good time to do it. You got a good
Burton, 5 points, about 22, 23.
See the different colors on our ticker indicating the drivers in the chase, those on the bubble, and the ones that have been eliminated. Jeff Gordon, the new race leader. Hamlin is second.
Jeff Gordon's clicking off about the last 5 laps, he's clicking off some pretty good laps.
I thought Marty had a good point with Jeff Gordon on the countdown, is that Gordon has not had a lot of good racing luck at Richmond in recent years, and he would love to put it away today here in California.
Yeah, if you can go into Richmond without having that pressure, it'd be a lot more fun. That's pretty tough.
They got to fight that for a while yet.
See the RPMs on the right, top speed over 197, 200 miles per hour going down into these corners. That is hauling the mail.
Then they have that tailwind down the front stretch. Wind blowing from turns 3 and 4 toward 1 and 2. Then a headwind down the backstretch, looking into the sun. This is for 5th. Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch. Busch trying to make the move on the outside, Alan.
Yeah, Bill, been a little while since we've gone back racing. Kyle Busch's crew chief told me this morning they didn't expect their car to be lightning fast early in a run, but it stayed and held its lap speeds better than most in the field, at least during practice, as we went later into the run. So we may be seeing some of that starting to kick in now for that 5 car.
Keep an eye on that. Got the position from Stewart. Defending champion of this race. This is back about 10th. Jimmie Johnson has 10th. Carl Edwards is 11th. More on Johnson from Marty.
Bill talked to Chad Canalsi, championship leaders crew chief, this morning, and he said, you know, we really need to try things now for the chase. So the setup under that 48 car is the setup they would love to use at Kansas and Homestead. Chad told me that's the racetrack that really, this racetrack really translates to those 2 racetracks in the chase. So far, so good for Jimmie, hanging in the top 10. Matt?
Looking back at the 99, you can see him dip on the outside. The car was tight earlier, just trying to work on that balance. As you can see him draft the 48 of Johnson down the backstretch. Dave?
Now, Matt Kenseth had some changes done to his car. He just radioed into crew chief Robbie Reiser, still a little bit loose. It's better on top of the track, but it's really tough to draft. He was up behind Junior for a while there, you saw, but that makes his car even looser. That's pretty tough, and Robbie Reiser reminded him with the sun, you got to hang in there for about another hour on that deal.
Hey, Dave, you got a second?
Go ahead, Webb.
Can you update us on what we saw on that crew cam with Truex's car?
Yeah, what had happened was they let the jack down, or it dropped accidentally early and came down on the left front tire. They popped the wheel on, but hadn't tightened any of the lugs yet. So it crushed that left front fender. They had to pull that back out, and when he restarted, having run near the top 10, he was 42nd.
And up to 23rd right now.
And that's unusual for those guys. They won that next crew challenge.
Yep, that's right.
In Charlotte this year. So there's going to be a change here. I'll tell you what, Kyle Busch is on the run. He's got 4th spot and Jeff Burton right there.
We've seen this here before.
Yes, we have. Boy, off the throttle a long time right now.
Jeff Gordon is the all-time lap leader here at California, but led only 2 races in his last 7 before today. He's out front by a second over Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane, Kyle Busch, and Jeff Burton.
And that middle just a little too good right when I pick up the throttle. Hold. 10 4, about 14 away.
Still under green, Jeff Gordon continues to lead in the Sony HD 500, on board with Jeff Burton in the 6th position. Time now for the Cingular Race Talk question. Which driver has enjoyed the best summer? To vote, text the word race to 191 on your Cingular wireless phone, and you'll have a chance to win a first-class trip to Miami. And we'll have the results later in the race.
Depends where they went this summer.
I think we're talking about on the racetrack. There's our race leader, Jeff Gordon. California native. Trying to lock himself into the chase for the next Stock Up champion.
Hey, that loose is all the way off to the wall.
Last year, and you can really hear the frustration in his voice.
You're up to great laps. We're about 10 away from this stuff. Great job.
This year, things have been a little bit better. Victory in Sonoma. And they have gotten hot down the stretch. That's at Chicagoland. Matt Kenseth out of the way. Four-time series champion. And out front in California. More from Matt.
Bill, we're about 10 laps away from Jeff Gordon's next scheduled pit stop. They just told Steve Letarte on the radio that the car down
And is there shade on any part of the racetrack yet, bud?
than it is down in 3 and 4. So when it starts, get in the gas.
3 shade,
turn
get in, and almost all the way out.
Exactly
Past
how
spinner
much
about
he needs to
a little
adjust his
bit.
24 car on their stop.
And they're going to have to be careful about adjusting their cars because the sunset here is a little over an hour away, 7:13 local time, about an hour and 6 or 7 minutes from right now, and that's when the track's really going to change.
Yeah, you don't want to, if you have a loose race car right now, you don't want to adjust it too much because the track should tighten up, So you don't want to make a big adjustment. The next round of pit stops are going to be really important. Heard the guys talk about you really need, the guys that are really good at a race like this are the guys that can anticipate that change, in the racetrack and make those adjustments and not go too far. Kyle Busch up to 3rd spot. He was fun to watch last night. I mean, he drives this racetrack pretty loose.
Yes.
You can watch him come through this corner right here, and normally you see that glove go to the right. So I mean, and that's why I think he's one of the better drivers around this place. He really hangs it out. Hey, B?
Hang banging it out. You're talking about Kyle Busch in that 5 car, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what's going on. The back end wants to step out on him. They call it a loose race car, hoping to make a little adjustment on that in the green flag pit stop that's going to come up a little less than 10 laps from right now.
Speeds at the line.
Kyle Busch, fastest that lap.
Saw Kenny Wallace and Bill Elliott fall off the lead lap. Tony Raines has also fallen off the lead lap. But Gordon in the lead by 2.2 seconds over Denny Hamlin. So it's a rookie chasing the veteran, getting close to green flag pit stops. We'll step out and come back to California on NBC.
radio is breaking up pretty bad to me. Shannon, you're a little weak and you're breaking up a little bit. Or, is that better? A little bit better.
Couple more. Fifth, Busch Series ran here last night. Casey Kane went to victory lane. He's trying for the weekend sweep. Kevin Harvick continues to dominate in the championship standings. Mark Martin had a strong run, but ended up finishing third. After some outstanding pit strategy by the Kane bunch. And there you see Kevin Harvick's huge lead over Carl Edwards and company. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 8 car is 6th. Mark Martin in 7th. Martin 9th in the championship standings right now. Earnhardt Jr. 10th. Mark was fun to watch last night because his car was so good.
It really was. His car was just hooked up. He had him, he had him pretty much covered, but like I say, Casey Kane, that team gambled that there wasn't going to be another yellow after that last pit stop, and it worked out for him.
And they came back in, pitted on lap 94, came back in under the same caution on lap 98 and topped off, and that gave them enough fuel not only to get to the finish, but to celebrate his win and drive the car to victory lane.
Earnhardt Jr. using all of the racetrack and then some. Up in the 400 in the dirt that time.
Jeff Gordon on pit road. Green flag pit stop, 75 laps are complete. Headed for you, Matt.
Started the day out 5th in the championship standings. Like a lot of other drivers, knowing just a maximum point kind of day will help.
All right, buddy, you are 5 away.
For the chase of
2 away, right on the side, please.
The 24 guys up on the wall. Gordon makes his way into his pit box. Easy entry. The car extremely loose. More so down in 3 and 4 than 1 and 2. Steve Letarte calling for a small air pressure adjustment. Like Wally said, you don't want to over-adjust at this point with the sun setting, Alan.
You got one outside the 21. You're clear behind him.
Bar adjustment. You see that wrench there being twisted to try and help the handling of that car. 4 tire change here on the 9 car, and they'll look to send him back out. Kurt Busch also in, looking for some chassis adjustments on that car. Remember, the back end really wiggling around on that machine. You see that wrench, 1, 2, that's 3 turns on that bar in the back of the 2 car, and we expect to see the new leader, Denny Hamlin, on pit road momentarily. Matt?
And Tony Stewart, the defending series champion, making his way down pit road. Now Stewart, his car was loose earlier. Recently, though, he said his car was sliding the nose at both ends of the racetrack. Greg Zimbarelli calling for an air pressure adjustment. Don't see a wrench in the back window yet. Looks like nothing there. As far as Dale Earnhardt Jr., his car was loose on entry, tight in the center, and loose on exit. Tony Eury Sr., his cousin and crew chief. Oh, the 01 of Nemechek getting into his box, slid through. He had to back up as Stewart was making his exit. You can see the wrench in the back window. Junior air pressure adjustment for the 18. Marty.
Matt, this radio problem still exists for Mark Martin's race team. It's really bad because he was supposed to pit 2 laps earlier. The team couldn't get to him because he couldn't get on the radio. The car's just a little bit tight. Mark said if we do make an adjustment, make it a small one. Quarter round of wedge in the right rear. Allen.
Denny Hamlin gives up the lead for a pit stop. Going to make an adjustment on the crossweight on the right side of the car to try and help it turn a little better. A good 4-tire stop for this team. Jeff Burton is in just in front of him, Dave.
And the 17 car of Matt Kenseth is off of pit road. He said, what are you going to do to tighten up this race car, crew chief? They made an air pressure and a track bar adjustment. Kevin Harvick also on and off of pit road. His car very loose. They adjusted for that as well. Allen.
And Kyle Busch is coming in after a lengthy discussion on his team radio over his car's handling. Look for crew chief Alan Gustafson to try and make a chassis adjustment to get the back end of that car stuck more, especially on the exit of the corners. That's where Kyle was struggling with it the most. He's been very proud of his team's pit stops, he told me this morning. He said his crew's been performing at a very high level. They just want to get through this race tonight and next week's race in Richmond without making any mistakes on pit road. That looked like a pretty solid stop.
Certainly did.
These guys are so good in the pits anymore. I mean, it used to be they'd get anybody to change tires and jack a car up, but these guys are all athletes now. They all work out. They all work at the pit stops. I mean, it's fun to watch these guys make pit stops. It's really good.
And there's a lot of peer pressure there, too, because you want to not only beat the other guys on pit road, you want to beat the other teams within your own organization.
That's right. That's right. And, and there's a lot of pressure on these guys. I mean, you make a mistake anymore during a race. That one mistake, it's hard to overcome in a race. Everybody is so good and so consistent. You make one mistake and could ruin your day.
Been a good day so far for Jeff Gordon, 4-time series champion, 3-time winner of the Daytona 500, 4-time winner of the Brickyard 400. Would like to get a win here in California and would like to lock himself into the chase for the 2006 next Daytona.
Still there. Clear. 17 coming with you. Nice job, buddy. Nice job. Lap right in front of you, the 49. Caution down for the Bree turn 2.
We're under caution here at the California Speedway for a debris Thursday night, an NFL kickoff special for you. The Miami Dolphins traveling to Pittsburgh to meet the Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers. Their quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, with an emergency appendectomy earlier today, so he will be out of the lineup. And they'll bring Charlie Batch off the bench to go against Dante Culpepper and the Dolphins. That's Thursday night, and I'm looking forward to Sunday when that what's-his-name, the quarterbacks, the Colts, goes against Eli Manning and the Giants. So that'd be his brother, Peyton Manning, going against. So Peyton Manning and Eli Manning on Sunday night, Colts and Giants.
Well, it's common knowledge that the older brother normally has most of the talent. That's what the older
brother?
Yeah, the older brothers get more of the talent in the gene pool. So.
I would agree with you on that.
Okay.
I would agree with you on that. That's first time in 5.5 years. But I
we
agree.
finally agree on something. When Marty says white noise, that's not a band. It's just you hear all this static and stuff, and I'm telling you, when you're running these cars at 200 miles per hour, that is very distracting. It takes everything you can to focus on what you're doing.
Outside, inside, 3 wide, you in the middle.
Denny Hamlin is focused right now. On the high side,
Outside,
Kyle Busch on the low
clear
side.
behind the 9.
They split Jeff Gordon, and he falls back to 4th, and they lose that position. Top 17 cars did not pit. Matt.
Nothing on the radio about the restart.
Outside,
Just
outside.
during the caution, he said the car still loose. Looking at the track temperature has come down, but the track hasn't tightened up, which we usually say here in Fontana.
He's on the way right now.
Well,
Busch leads. Dean in the 9, Hamlin third in the 11.
stacked up. Right there. From about 4 or 5 to 40th. They were scrambling.
Bobby Labonte and Jeff Green are racing for the lucky dog. These guys are racing for the lead. Casey Kane, believe it or not, in the high groove. More on the leaders from Allen.
Bill, you talk about some guys who are very hungry for a win tonight. Casey Kane has 4 wins already this season, but his last win was back in June, and they've been through a very difficult summer, which is what has them on the bubble for making the chase. As for Kyle Busch, he won a race in July in New Hampshire, but it's been his only win of the season so far. He feels like he might have given a couple away during this season. He wants win number 2 here tonight. So far, he's running very well.
Comes in off the win last night in the Busch Series race. As they run now.
Still pretty close back there. 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Casey's cut that margin in half from 90 down to 43. Earnhardt Jr. trying to get around him.
outside,
Matt.
outside.
Trying to work his way back up to the point, Bill. Fell from first down to 6. All he said on the radio was the car just picked up a tremendous push when it went down into turns 1 and 2, and he had to lay down the throttle, thus allowing everyone else to work their way around him.
And he was strong when he was in front, but right now back in traffic. He's got his hands on.
Yeah, they're just stacked up on top of each other right now. We talked about it earlier. You can run all the air you can on your car. And right now, in this traffic, it's hard to get all that grip in traffic that you had when you're out there out front by yourself.
Jeff Burton, that 31 car. Trying to step out of line and make a move. Looking back from Gordon.
Clear.
We know would be a huge relief for Gordon. A lot finally sleep for the first time this summer. Crew chief's thinking about it all the time. Working that 31 car behind Earnhardt Jr. Allen
Trying to pick his way back toward the front, Bill. Jeff Burton started in 7th spot. Remember, he moved up in the opening laps of this race, then fell back when the car's handling went away. He said, we lost our ability to turn in the center of the corner. The crew made some adjustments on the last pit stop, including air pressure out of both left side tires. And Burton seems to like those adjustments. He's moving back forward, Dave.
And Alan, I want to touch on something that Bill mentioned earlier, the fact that these guys practiced in the heat of the day all weekend and just now are getting into a different type of situation with the track temperatures here. Robbie Reiser, the crew chief for Matt Kenseth, told me we just are starting from basically square one at the start of this race. We have a setup that we think will work, but we'll be adjusting on it all night long, and you've heard all the adjustments that we've been talking about down here. It's who can work the best from a clean piece of paper at the start of this race, Bill.
Hey, Dave, you be careful with Robbie Reiser. He's been pretty grumpy this weekend. Have you noticed that?
I haven't spent a lot of time around him, so maybe that's just as well.
Wise move on your part. During practice here on Saturday, Matt told him he needs an attitude adjustment. Robbie just small little grin, then went right back to work trying to keep his team focused now that they've already clinched a spot in the chase for the next Tel Cup. Burton and Earnhardt. Burton is 6th, Earnhardt 7th. On board with Earnhardt, looking at Burton. And you and I were talking about this last week after the race. You look at Bristol and you look at Indianapolis, where Jeff Burton had a car that you really thought was going to win the race, and then, you know, the last quarter or so of the race really wasn't competitive.
Yeah, it seemed like when they came in for their last pit stop to cap it off, to cap the win off, they disappeared.
And Burton told me yesterday, he said in both those races, the car just got so tight and they couldn't get the tightness out of it, and the more they worked on it, the worse it got. Alan, that's similar to what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, Bill, I had a similar conversation with Jeff Burton this morning. The one thing he wanted to point out, he said at Indianapolis, our car's handling was tight, no front end grip. He said because we were out front all day, we were able to hide that from everybody. But when we got shuffled back in traffic by some two-tire pit stops, it unveiled a flaw in our car. He said at Bristol, we really aren't sure what happened to us there. And he said, I don't want anybody blaming my crew chief that he couldn't make the right adjustment at the end of this race, because we're just not sure what happened in that one. Matt?
Alan, AB, the A team hoping that their problems are gone. First they had issues with their radio. Then Junior said they had a vibration. Hasn't said much about that lately. But the one thing about this team, Junior said he felt like last week at Bristol was their defining moment. They went from 40th and they finished 3rd. Escaping all those minefields. Now he just wants to have one of those nights here in Fontana, score a win, and then go into next week with a little bit of a cushion so as to not have to depend on what could happen on that bull rig that decides his fate. Right now, he is running solid in the 6th position, trying to run down Tony Stewart in 5th.
These two drivers want to cement their spot. And while this goes on for 6th, there's some rather aggressive and intriguing racing going on.
I'm telling you what, this is like 20 or 26, but it's great stuff. These guys are running side by side, 3 abreast. They're all over the racetrack. These guys are running as hard back here as the guys up front are.
And Riggs started up near the front in the 4th position after finishing 4th last week. He dropped right to the back at the beginning of the race, but there has been some aggressive racing back there, and they're really fanning out when they go through the turns. You've been watching this bunch, Alan?
How'd you like to be a crew chief who said his goal for the day was for his driver not to hit anything, and see your car back there in the middle of that?
Good luck.
Yeah, that's the story for Kurt Busch and Roy McCauley. Made some adjustments on the last pit stop. Kurt said it's a little bit better. Dave?
And Scott Riggs thought he had a much better race car than it showed. He was stayed up in the top 10. Bill, as you mentioned, he started well up in this race, but then fell back with a very loose race car after the 2nd pit stop. They've been working their way back on that. He's only made his way up to 17th.
Casey Mears is back there. I really thought he'd have a strong run here tonight. Mears is back there. Reed Sorensen in the 41.
Well, this racetrack, I mean, don't count them out yet. I mean, this racetrack may come to some of these guys. If they're really, really loose right now, yep, they're holding on. As long as you're in the lead lap here in Fontana and you can stay there, this racetrack is going to change a lot. And you're going to see guys in the front all of a sudden disappear, and then we're going to see guys in this pack somewhere that are going to be up front before this race is over.
30 cars on the lead lap, and there's 151 laps to go. So you got time to work on it.
Oh,
Marty,
yeah.
what are you watching?
Well, Bill, I was wondering if Wally read the playbook for the 42 team. That's exactly what they're talking about. You know, they've been loose this entire time fighting no rear grip, but they think the racetrack will come to them later. This racetrack is going to A, get tighter, and B, the racetrack is going to cool down. That should add more grip to the racetrack, and that's what Casey loves, a little more grip in the racetrack.
Thanks, Marty.
There's Mark Martin right now.
Yep.
He's sliding back. He went across the stripe there at 17th spot.
You have to believe he's really hoping when the sun set.
Well, Marty, did they make the wrong move, or is that radio just bugging him?
No, he made some contact with someone, Wally, and damaged the right front fender a little bit. They had a little bit of a fender rub. Mark said also the car is extremely loose right now. Quite a handful.
And right now, Mark Martin, 10th in the championship standings, only 26 points ahead of Casey Kane. Earnhardt for 5th around Tony Stewart. So Earnhardt Jr. trying to march to the front. More on the 8 from Matt.
Bill, similar issues for the 8 of Dale Jr. and the 20 of Tony Stewart. Jr. says his car just sliding the nose terribly from the center off. That's exactly what Stewart was saying about the 20 machine as well. Just no grip in the front.
Casey Kane drives car 9. Started 9th. Last time he started 9th was at Charlotte in a race that began during the day and ended under the lights. That night, Casey Kane went to victory lane.
Steve. Buddy, oh yeah, you're doing great, man. Eat them up.
Evening here in Fontana, California, the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series with a 500-mile race in the Sony HD 500, where Casey Kane is the race leader on board with Jeff Burton, trying to crack the chase for the Nextel Cup. Which driver had the best summer? Here's how you voted. Matt Kenseth.
I have to agree with that.
I would too, especially after the last couple of weeks. Our Cingular Race Talk poll.
Gordon just takes third away from Hamlin.
So after falling back, this car has at least recaptured some of the magic it had a few laps ago.
Yeah, I think once things settled down and spread out, they got out of that aero situation with all that traffic. Back to run some pretty good lap times. In fact, that last lap, he was the quickest car.
And some good racing going on all around the track. Time now to take you through the field, starting with the race leader Casey Kane, and here's Alan.
Bill just talked to some of the crew about this 9 car. Things are going well now. Check this out. Points now as they run in the race. Casey Kane in the 10th spot. But of course, so many laps to go on this night tonight. As far as this team is concerned, they're wondering the same thing everybody else is wondering. What's going to happen when the sun goes down? Kyle Busch was running right with these cars when the green flag waved for this restart. Obviously, he's dropped back just a little bit. You see nearly 2 seconds off the leader and a nice wiggle there up in the corner. Kyle initially being told by his crew not to worry about it, that they were better over the long run. Jeff Gordon has just got them for 2nd place.
And Jeff Gordon a half second faster than leader Casey Kane. Gordon said on the radio about 10 laps ago, he goes, you have no idea. I've got about an inch or less of tape left before the sun will be absolutely miserable heading down into turn 3, Alec.
Denny Hamlin has fallen from 2nd back to 4th place now and hasn't said a word on his team's radio since that restart. No complaints about the car's handling, no observations, just longer laps it appears at this point.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. running in the 5th position. Jr. says the car too tight, hoping for the next pit stop to try to free it up. It seems like whichever driver it is, whatever condition you're experiencing, it's magnified at this juncture of the race.
Matt Kenseth runs next. Matt started out in the 9th position on this last restart. Has picked up a couple of spots, and with himself locked into the chase, we asked him what matters about the next couple of weeks.
I think it's important. I think it goes back to like we were talking about momentum. I think it's important to keep that, and I think it's important to keep, myself, all the team members, overall guys, everybody, performing at a championship level, and working as hard as we can every week. So, really, this business is about trying to win races and collect trophies and do all that stuff. And every race is a big race. Even though you're in the chase, you still want to get as many points as you can. We'd love to go in being the point leader. That's how you have the most points starting. So, we're just going to do the best we can every week and see how it turns out.
And as caution on the racetrack now as Brian Vickers has a problem, Bill.
He's had contact, heavy contact.
I think the left front tire looks like it blew on that car.
Yeah, sure did.
Because that's what took the fender off.
There you see the tire go. It's gone there, actually. Bits and pieces all over the place. This is on board with Dale Jarrett. All we're going to see is the sun.
I actually saw some smoke there. I thought I saw some smoke. No, I did see some smoke when he went down in the corner. And he felt it. It was like he felt it going. He got out of the way, but...
So
they really got to fix that fender because you can't run a car like that here. You won't even be able to run minimum speed without a left front fender.
And you have to check the suspension parts as well to make sure everything's going to hold together for him. The sun getting close to setting. The pace car to pit road. Casey Kane, the race leader, brings the field to the green flag for the restart. 135 to go. On the lead lap, they all pitted under that car.
Clear.
Colors on the tip at the top of the screen indicating the guys in the chase, the guys on the bubble, and the guys that have been locked out. And right now, it's every man for himself. Into a blinding sun.
Busch right underneath the 9 car. Casey Kane looking for an opportunity.
During this caution after the pit stop. He said the first 20 laps of the run they're pretty good. The last 20 runs or so, the first 15 laps or so of the run they're pretty good. The last 15 they're pretty good. It's that middle 20 or 25 or so that they have to get better to run with the 9 Casey Kane and the 24, Jeff Burton. That's what they're working on with this 5 car.
Bobby Labonte in that 43 was the first car 1 lap down. He's right behind Jeff Gordon. Wants to hold that position so we can get the lucky dog if the caution comes out. And we can watch these guys, but we saw Vickers with the tire go and all the damage on his car. And Dave Burns was snooping around down there on pit road. And Dave, you got an update on Mark as we watch the battle for the lead here, the 6 and the 25?
Yeah, just what happened there. We just happened to be down in the neck of the woods of the 25 car, and the team reported to us that it had been the 6 car that got into them. That's what caused their tire to go down and draw out the caution.
Matt, what are you working on?
Well, the 25 Bill is still sitting out pit road. They're trying to piece together that left front. Not a lot of conversation at this point on team radio. Really disappointed about it. Such a great qualifying effort and seeing it end like this.
This is for the lead, Kyle Busch. Third time he has led tonight.
Just didn't have enough to drift up that racetrack to clear the 9 car.
Falls in to get the track down the backstretch. And they fan out in the corners here at Michigan. So Vickers did have contact on the racetrack, and that's what led to the tire fire.
I figured something had to happen like that for the left rear to the left front to go on that car. Something must have cut it. Normally contact will do that.
Allen?
Well, you think that a guy racing to get into the championship with only 2 races to go, a guy that's tied for the most races won this season but still struggling to make that cut, would feel a lot of pressure coming into this race. But when I spoke to Casey Kane on Friday, he told me he really didn't feel the pressure yet. He said, I think it's because I spent a fun week. He went up to Washington and had a fundraising sprint car race at a track he used to race at. He held a charity event over here in Irwindale, California with some drift cars. He said, I think because I've been doing all these fun things this week, I haven't thought about the championship. I haven't let the pressure get to me.
I think another thing is that.
Come back to what you say. What they say and what they really say. Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time believing that these guys aren't thinking about the championship. I think they get to go do these cool things, and it takes their mind off it for a little bit. But he was thinking about it last night in that motorhome at that hotel.
And when they all woke up this morning, that's the first thing that was on their mind. That day can be the day of get it all behind us. On board with Gordon. Another thing about Kane is, I mean, they know they've got good equipment, a solid driver. They won 4 of the first 15 races. They're just trying to recapture some of that. They've had some terrible luck. Watkins Glen, Indianapolis.
Yeah, I think they're almost in a better situation as far as frame of mind goes, knowing that, you know what, we just got to go out here and win races, or we just got to do what we do best.
What we were doing.
Yeah, right, exactly. And if we get some luck, we'll be in. And you know, it's a lot easier, I think, doing it that way than being in a situation with Mark and Jeff Burton, where you're looking over your shoulder at that. You know, worrying about what's going to happen next and where Casey Kane's running.
That sun's more of an annoyance now than just glaring right into your eyes.
Yeah, it's going to be out of these guys. There won't be a problem here in another 5 or 10 minutes. These guys will be happy when it's gone.
Race car drivers happy?
Happier.
Kane gets the position, goes back to the lead.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kyle Busch is just fun to watch around this racetrack. He's got that thing hanging out all the time.
Gordon's got a good look at it. Kyle coming back for the lead. Kyle Busch in the 5, Casey Kane in the 9, 2 of the bright young stars of NASCAR. Kyle Busch is only 21. Casey Kane's only 26. That guy behind him, he's no better.
So he's got a good run right now in the 5 car. I don't know if he's going to pull out and try to make the pass here.
Teammates right there in the 24 and the 5.
He's going to get the 5 loose. It's not going to be tough.
Oh!
See, I was going to say, it's not going to be tough to get the 5 loose. He's been watching this, and he sees the 5 loose already. So he figures, I'm just going to go down the corner, and I'm going to stay right on this bumper and get him real loose. So he did.
And they are teammates, right?
Does not matter.
It doesn't? You would do that to me?
we're booth partners. I'd do it to you in a minute.
Matt.
Bill, with a lot on the line for this 24 team, obviously trying to lock themselves in. And this is the stretch of the race where it's more of an experimental period because the sun is setting. Not exactly sure how drastic this racetrack will change from sunset to when it gets to complete darkness. Right now, though, the best his car has been is at this point right now. He runs second, trying to chase down the 9, Alan. Kyle Busch back to third. Nothing on his radio about getting loosened up by Jeff Gordon or sliding back. But one of the things that Kyle has talked about in the last couple of weeks is the biggest lesson he's learned in the last 12 months since picking up that first win. Being patient, not putting his car in positions during a race where it might be compromised and he might crash and lose points. Last year they had 12 finishes in the 30s or 40s, including crashes and mechanical problems. This year only 4. It was something they really wanted to reduce going into the year to have a shot at the title.
Kyle won here last September, was 10th here in February. He's got another young star right on his bumper. Denny Hamlin in that 11 car, 2-time winner this year. Up front, Casey Kane. But Jeff Gordon has got him right in his sights. The sun is setting, the excitement is rising at Fontana on NBC. Casey Kane, he is the race leader, but that 24 car has been all over him for a few laps. 129 laps are complete. Let's take the wheel starting it out.
And the leader, Casey Kane, standing in the pit right now. His team manager, team director, Kenny Francis. Crew chief's role is called by a lot of other organizations, but the Abraham organization set up a little differently. They call it team director. Kenny says no message to his team this week about the pressure or about their point situation. They figure...
I don't know what's going on here. Things going to shit on us. Real tight.
Jeff Gordon runs in second. They brought one of their best cars in the stable. They won Chicago and then finished second at Michigan. Gordon now back down at the bottom, hunkered down, just riding, waiting until the sun completely goes down, and they expect the Hamlin to really...
It isn't tight. I don't know what it is. Just going to shit. It's all over the place. They try to cool it down and see what happens.
Up the racetrack and lost
Hey, your boss run your lap.
Crew chief Alan Gustafson telling Kyle, it's okay, we're going to run our race. Let's try to take care of the car right now. Denny Hamlin pressuring Kyle Busch for that third spot, maybe going to take it away right here. Hamlin's crew saying that their car is fast, but still just a little bit lacking final grip in the center of the corners, but they're afraid to take a big swing on it right now because it's still fast.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of those drivers who started the night between 5th and 11th in the championship standings, knowing, as you can see as of now, currently 7th. They have to have a good night here, and especially at Richmond, because those drivers have all either finished 2nd or better at Richmond. Can't afford any mistakes. Junior says the car a little tight on exit.
It's been hot all weekend here, Matt, and the Kenseth team knew that. In fact, Matt asked for some extra air hoses around him. Tire specialist Todd Millard, who works on the interior as well, gave him some extra ventilation to help him before the sun goes down. We're getting close to that point now.
Stewart had a disastrous race here in the spring, finishing dead last due to engine failure. Back on lap 111, it took a huge swing at the handling of this car. Remember, we told you the car was just way too tight, went up significantly on the track bar, and reversed some changes they made earlier to try to free up the car.
Spent some time talking with Kevin Harvick's crew chief Todd Berrier earlier today. Asked him if they had a good race car. Todd said, "We'll know when the sun goes down." We're almost to that point. Marty?
Dave, Jimmie Johnson says things are different this year for the 48 team. He said we're smarter, more mature, and more educated about what we need to do to approach the chase correctly. And part of that key is keeping momentum for the next 2 weeks.
I don't think we've been able to do it so far, so our strategy hasn't changed. The last 3 or 4 years, we lost a little steam through here, and this year we've been really strong and putting up good performances week after week. So, if we can go into the chase with the points lead, it's going to be great. But if we don't, I still know that we're a better team right now than we've ever been. We're stronger, and we're going to be more of a threat this year for the championship than we've ever been.
So what have they learned today that will help them in the chase? Well, they've learned this setup they would love to use at Kansas and Homestead. So far, mixed reviews. Not that great, not so bad. Jimmie's been about a 10th place car all afternoon. Alan?
Jeff Burton, one of the championship would-be chasers, running in the 11th place in this race. Last traffic on his radio, his car way too slow in the center of the turns. One dynamic that's going on in this race right now is that the 11th place driver in points is leading and gaining ground on all these guys like Burton that are running behind him. Matt?
In the countdown to green, you heard Carl Edwards talk about the huge hole that he finds himself in looking outside of the championship chase. Knew he has to just go out, run his own race, and try to rack up some W's. The car was tight early, but now, Alan, it is just way too loose, especially on exit.
And checking on the progress of Greg Biffle's race, who started in 21st position. He's managed to move his way up to 15th. Biffle been so strong at this racetrack, they thought they had a good shot at a top finish here. Still got some work to do on this car to get it up with the leaders. Marty?
Well, Alan, the good news is that they fixed the right front fender on Mark Martin's race car. He restarted 28th. Currently, he's up to 21st. The bad news is he has a long way to go to get to the front, and the car does not seem to be as good as it was early in the race. You saw that little wiggle coming off turn 2, a little sideways as well. Mark said the car, as you can see, extremely hard to handle. No rear grip.
Thanks, Marty. Right now, in the championship standings, Kasey Kahne and Mark Martin are in a deadlock with 3,149 points. So they both get into the chase if there was a tie, you're in. But right now, Kahne and Martin tied for the 10th spot with the exact amount of points. But 115 laps to go. We'll see what happens.
Earnhardt Jr. takes over the 3rd spot from Denny Hamlin. He is working the high line. I don't think there's too many guys that have been running higher than Junior has been. So he's found a little bit of grip up there. It's working for him.
And more grip as we go along, right? See what happens. Kasey Kahne, a big win here last night. A win tonight would be much bigger and could rocket him into the chase for the next Star Cup championship.
Clear by 6. The 49 and the 39 in front of you, you just run a 29. 2/10 fast. I'll stay on my line. No good. 10-4. Have a good day.
the green at California by 2.3 seconds over Jeff Gordon. Dale Earnhardt Jr. runs third, 5 seconds behind the race leader, but there could be a development on this 9-car, Alan.
Well, Burton, just noticing that white piece on the middle of the grill on this Casey Kane car. And on these cars, when you block off that small opening, sometimes it causes heating problems. I just spoke with team director Kenny Francis just a second ago. He said the debris has been there for a while. The temperature on the car is fine.
I'm surprised he didn't get behind that car and try to draft off and get the air coming off that 25 car. Would have cleaned that grill. See, there's more stuff flying up there now. So, Home Depot virtual garage, and I'll kind of show you what's going on here, what happens. Got the opening in the front of the car. That's obviously how it cools the car down. The air's coming through. What happens is when they start picking up, when you got tape on there, and when you're taped up like this, you're getting downforce on the front. But when garbage covers up the little opening that you have to cool the car, it overheats. And that's a problem that Casey Kane may have if that doesn't fly up. Now, last night in the Busch race, you see how much trash he had on the grill, and they got it off during a pit stop, but the water was up to 250 degrees. You can't run these cars 250 degrees very long before the engine will blow out or start spitting water out. So I don't know what his temperature is. That's not a lot of trash.
But you don't want any more.
You don't want any more. And you can get that off. If you get behind a guy and you go back and forth, if you get on his bumper and you turn left and right, the air on that car sometimes will clean that paper off and blow that paper off. So I don't even know if he knows it's there or not. If they're watching TV, they'll tell him and he'll get it off.
Still running well. 2.2 seconds in front of Gordon. Update on Jeff from Matt.
Well, the difference between first and second, like you mentioned, is leveled off to be about a 2-second difference. Gordon was battling the sun in his eyes earlier. Now he's battling an ever-changing racetrack.
It is tight. I don't know what it is. Just all over the place. It's trying to cool it down and see what happens. Something about this place when it starts to cool down, boy, it changes in a big way. 3, 4, not the same temperature.
The latest thing that Gordon told his team, besides being tight in the center, now the car is extremely loose on exit, but he is running lap times about a tenth of a second faster than leader Casey Kane.
And this is what the guys in the garage were talking about. They were craving some kind of an evening practice session here, so you at least have some idea what your car was going to do.
Well, they know now.
Yeah.
They're getting a feel of it anyway.
Casey Kane out front. From Enumclaw, Washington. 4 wins this season, chasing number 5. You're watching NASCAR live on NBC. California, the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series racing under the lights at the California Speedway. 148 laps are complete. Casey Kane leads Jeff Gordon by 2.3 seconds.
Left side, Jim.
We're about 15 laps or so away from pit stops. This battle is for second. Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. As we approach the 100 to go mark.
Clear Lowe.
Takes the spot. That's second place.
I want to remind everybody our buddy Benny Larson's now with us this week. Hopes to be with us next week when we race in Richmond, Virginia. And if he is, he would utter those famous words, truck, cue the duck, please. Time for our Aflac trivia question. Who are the only rookie contenders to win a California Nextel Cup race? Come on, Wally.
Rookie contenders to win a California Nextel Cup race ever. Kyle Busch.
Right.
And Jimmie Johnson. I don't know.
Very good.
I didn't even have the answer for that.
How about that?
Like I normally have at a time.
Very good. You didn't get the email, huh?
Not that one.
Our Aflac trivia question. VP, we look forward to seeing you next week up here in Richmond. And you can feel it up for us.
10 laps away. When you get a minute, let me know what you
Casey
got.
Kane just sailed along.
Don't know, but I cannot run that line that he's running. He's just kicking our ass.
An issue yet.
We just lost grip somewhere.
Kind of like Gordon talking about grip. And Matt's got an update on Earnhardt.
Bill on the 2014 battles grip, the A-team on their way to the front. Junior has only one top 5 finish here. Not one of his better racetracks, but he said moments ago on the radio, let him know that I'm coming somehow, some way. I will be up there because I found my line, and we are now really good.
Yeah, he's found the line that we talked about earlier. He's on the high line. I haven't seen anybody run as high as he has. He's almost running out of racetrack. He keeps moving that line a little bit every lap, about an inch or two. He's about running out. Matty?
Right there on exit wall. Now, he said earlier when the sun was still out, he had to wait until the sun went down because he couldn't see quite as well exactly on his exit of where he would like to be. He didn't want to tag the wall and cause himself some major issues, but now that the sun is setting, vision is excellent and he is motoring toward the front.
It's always better to be able to see when you drive a race. It helps a lot.
I'm trying to figure it out. I'll let you know here in a minute.
Use the fresher tires to get there and beat Kevin Harvick, getting back to victory lane. Certainly had the disappointing season a year ago, capped by losing an engine here. How's he look?
Going the right direction. Fastest car on the track right now, too. He's 0.2 of a second faster than Casey Kane the last couple laps. They should be getting pretty close to pit road.
I think. 10 laps or so. Martin's 18th now. Got an update, Marty?
Well, speaking of finally going the right direction, this is the time of the day Mark Martin has been waiting for. They've been battling a race car that has no rear grip, extremely loose. Now the racetrack itself finally getting some grip in it, coming to Mark Martin. In the last few laps, they've gone from 21st to 18th, but they still have their hands full. And look at that, in the top 10 of the championship standings as well.
Yeah, that's going to move a lot in the last 97 laps here. And the story from pit road is we can expect our leader Casey Kane on lap 158, and we're working 154, but that's all out the window. Debris for caution on the racetrack. And this will put just about everybody in a window where if it did stay green, they'd only have to pit one more time after this set of stops. So we'll see how that works out. So if you're going to get your car right, you need to get it right on this round of pit stops.
But to say Kasey Kahne was disbelieving at that penalty would be a little bit of an understatement.
Well, that makes two of us.
Jeff Gordon is the race leader. The 2-car Kurt Busch is on the tail end of the lead lap. We'll let the scoring cycle through. And you have to go back to the 24th position to find Kasey Kahne. Kurt Busch had just pitted under the green before the caution came out. That's why he's at the tail end of the lead lap. Kevin Harvick, the 29 car, that's a mess back there. Sterling Marlin's there. Dave Blaney. Tony Stewart's in the middle of that. 90 laps to go here. I just want to show you how that penalty affects the 9 situation in the championship chase.
Out inside.
Kasey Kahne now 89 points out. Started the night 90 out. This will be for the lead. The fans on their feet here now.
For the lead as well. But so far, it looks like he's going to come out of turn 2 with it. He had a really good draw going down the straightaway, and he pulled out. He had a good run on those guys, and he pulled it off.
And Kenseth working all over the back of the 8. At 43 at Bobby Labonte's, the first car lap down. Looking back from Earnhardt at Matt Kenseth. Matt on Gordon.
Bill, that was a 3-time California winner. Chasing the race win. He and his teammates are also trying to lock themselves in for the $6+ million payday at the end of the season. But this was moments ago on the Gordon radio concerning his teammate Kyle Busch in the 5.
Do me a favor, that 5, he looks like he's really losing the big tire. Do you mess around there, but come on, let's pass the message along that I'm racing him the same way he races everybody else out here, and he better, that was a lesson is what that was, and he needs to learn from it.
And Gordon's car was loose right before that last pit stop. Steve was up. He had a small air pressure adjustment to try to help Gordon on exit. He said it was just too free when he tried to get back in the gas.
We saw Gordon get Kyle loose earlier in the race.
Yeah.
Well, it's the best time to try to watch some of these out restart, really.
Everybody's jammed up, and they go flying down there, and I mean, really, that's your best opportunity to try to pass a guy before things get strung out. See, Kenseth goes down to the bottom of the racetrack. Just makes the pass on Earnhardt.
And the upper left, that's Kasey Kahne in the 9 car. He's already worked his way up to 16th. Allen?
Hey, Bill, remember last night's NASCAR Busch Series race here at California Speedway? Kasey Kahne had to come back in. He topped off his fuel, went to the back of the pack, wound up winning the thing on fuel mileage. Remember I talked about earlier in the race if someone was going to roll the dice on this thing and try and take it on fuel mileage? That might not have been the case when they were running up front. Well, now it is when they're back in traffic. They came in, topped off the fuel on the 1-to-go lap. So we'll see if this 9 car ends up making a fuel economy run out of this thing between now and the checkered flag.
Thanks, Allen. Well, here are these teammates. Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch. And that would be Kyle's brother. Gordon back to the front.
Jeff Gordon or anybody. He doesn't care. He's out there trying to win the race.
Outside.
I mean, he is
Clear.
It's just sliding all over the racetrack. How he can hang on to it that long?
Gordon got around Kurt Busch. That makes him the first car off the lead lap. Kurt goes high, Kyle goes low. More from Allen.
Yeah, Kyle Busch just on his radio a second ago, Bill, talking about all 4 tires on this car sliding, needing a little more grip and a little more help on that car. You know, it's fun to see these two guys racing with such intensity because Kyle is giving Jeff Gordon as well as Jimmie Johnson, one of his other teammates, a lot of credit for helping him mature as a Nextel Cup race driver over the course of the last 12 months. I guess that goes to show you just how intense the competition really is.
And speaking of Jimmie Johnson,
These guys are they're having a battle.
Johnson in the 48, Kevin Harvick right behind him, Carl Edwards in the 99, and Tony Stewart getting a look at it. Bobby Labonte participating.
I don't know if he really wants to be participating, but
How about Johnson, Marty?
It's fun watching these guys race like this, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah.
And Jimmie knows this is a setup they want to use in the chase, so he is giving extremely detailed information to Chad Canals about everything this race car is doing, and it certainly has come to life since the sun's gone down, Dave.
Harvick running behind him in the 29 car. Crew Chief Todd Berrier showed me his notes here from last year, page after page on his Excel spreadsheet. And the last note was, I quit. They finished 14th, which means they didn't quit, but it was a long process to get this car halfway competitive last year.
No surprise, Dave, that Tony Stewart in the 20 car hugging the bottom, loves to run the bottom while other guys like the middle or top. Stewart diving on the inside of the 29. Now they went back up on the track bar the last stop, pulled a spring rubber out of the left rear, and made some big air pressure adjustments. The car just too tight, especially trying to roll through the center of the corner, knowing they're probably going to have one more shot at it. They took a big swing at it the last time just to see if that would really ignite this race car and find the balance that Stewart's looking for.
And there's Casey Kane in the 9 car. He's worked his way up to 14th. Around Jeff Burton. On board with Burton. Jeff Burton has slipped to 9th in the championship standings. So that's not only a pass on the track, but those are big points for Kane. Jeff Gordon is the race leader by about a second over Kyle Busch. And then it's Matt Kenseth, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Clint Bowyer with 80 to go at the California Speedway in Fontana.
Clear. Out, turn 2. Off of turn 2.
Welcome back to California. We're under caution. David Gilliland has just spun. That brought out the caution. Moments before that, Craig Biffle had to make an unscheduled pit stop for a flat tire. That's big because that affects his chances, even as slim as they were, making the chase. Here's Gilliland going around.
looks like he was underneath Waltrip. And he was just trying, you know, they were coming off the corner. And he was trying to turn the car down so he wouldn't drift up into Waltrip.
And that brought out the caution. 72. Jeff Gordon restarts 25th after loose lug nuts on his pit stop and a second trip down pit road.
Got quite a few guys on that bottom lane that are a lap or more down. See Biffle down on the bottom right there, trying to get on the lead lap.
Biffle, the first car, scored off the lead lap. There are 26 cars on the lead lap. Casey Kane looking at that high groove that Earnhardt's been using. An update on the 9 from Allen.
And looking to get the lead back here, Bill. Remember, Casey Kane shuffled all the way back to 24th place by the too fast entering pit road speeding penalty on the lap for 155 pit stop. I talked to his team director, Kenny Francis, about the right side tire only call on this pit stop. He said, we debated 2 or 4. When we saw the 8 car just get 2, that made our decision for us. They've got their track position back. Now they want the lead.
Both those cars just 2 tires on their pit stop.
Man, he had a run getting off of turn 2, and right now he's got the lead. He's got the 5-car push behind him. Casey Kane needs to slide up the racetrack a little bit to hold that spot. You've got it. Junior loses 2 spots in that lap.
Kane doing a little drifting up the track there.
There's lots of it.
Kyle Busch looking low. Can't quite get there.
Oh, Casey Kane a little sideways there off of 2. Wasn't it 89 earlier? He went from 89 points out of 10 to 9 points out of 10.
Yeah. Helped by that 2-tire stop, baby.
Bill, it just goes to show you the difficulty in trying to figure out these races. Here were guys on top of the world earlier, down in the dumps in the middle, back on top, and we've still got, what, 70 laps to go? Who knows how this thing's going to turn out in another hour or so.
One guy wondering that same thing drives that 24 car, Allen. And where is he? There he is, behind that mess.
22nd spot. And he was one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. Now he's a second slower than the lap times Casey Kane's run.
This is for the lead, Kyle Busch.
What Biffle is doing everything he can to try to get on that lead lap.
Easy now, bud.
And he is on the lead lap right now.
Had to pit with a tire problem under green. That's how Greg fell off of the lead lap. He's 27th, the first car 1 lap down.
It's on the lead lap now.
Right, when they get back to the scoring loop, he will be back on the lead lap in front of the race leaders. The 5 and the 9 racing for the lead. And you could see this for years to come in Nextel Cup racing. Now Biffle officially is the 27th car on the lead lap. And he's out front.
Yeah.
So he's got clean air and a good car.
And these guys are racing each other.
Right.
So that's going to help him. He's hoping they'll continue to do that. But he's got a long way to come around. I mean, obviously, he's looking for a yellow.
Again, the ticker at the top of the screen. Green cars are in the chase. Yellow are on the bubble. Red are locked out. When the checkered flag falls at Richmond next Saturday night, we'll know the drivers that will be eligible for the 2006 Nextel Cup Championship. Looking for Jeff Gordon. There he is, right next to Mark Martin. They're all right. Trying to squeeze it down low. Waltrip up in front of Casey Mears.
78, he restarted in 25th, quickly making his way back to the front. Air pressure adjusted by Letard and company, trying to tighten up the race car on exit. He was close to working by the 6, and Martin just couldn't quite do it. Marty? That Mark Burton and company are a little surprised the racetrack has not gotten tighter for them. They restarted in the 21st position. Currently they're running 18th. The racetrack
Still too loose for Mark. They made several changes on the last stop, trying to give him a little more rear grip in that 6 car.
We saw that last night through the Busch race. Guys were expecting the track to get tighter, and it didn't for a lot of those guys. If their cars started out loose, then they stayed loose.
All night they were loose. This is for 4th. Earnhardt Jr. is 4th. Kenseth is 5th. Denny Hamlin in that 11 car. 3rd in line is 6th. And right in front of them, Scott Riggs, who in that 10 car with a 2-tire stop. There's Riggs. 4th last week, Dave, in a pit road gamble that's paying off so far for the 10.
When they raced earlier this season at Michigan, sort of a sister track to this, they were working on an experiment on the body to help the 9 team. It didn't work, so they didn't use it on the 9, and when they came here, they brought a car they really, really liked as far as the shape of the body, what they thought it would do in the clean air, and it's run great tonight. And as you mentioned, a 2-tire stop to give him even more track position on the last stop.
Got him out of traffic, was 19th when the caution came out. Now Scott Riggs runs 3rd, behind Kyle Busch and Casey Kane. That 9 car has been good all night. Right now it's good after a 2-tire stop. He leads by 1.2 seconds. We'll take you through the field when we come back to California on NBC.
Debris 1 and 2, debris 1 and 2.
The caution out here at California in the Sony HD 500. Debris on the racetrack. Bobby Labonte in the 43 car will be the lucky dog. He will come around to be the 27th car on the lead lap. Mark Martin is the race leader. Some guys on the edge of their fuel window, 55 to go and we get the green.
Yeah, definitely some guys are going to try to make it all the way if it stays green.
Casey Mears popped off.
Marcus. Man, Marcus trying to get down on that low side. And, man, Newman was down there. I don't know what was going on, but boy, Elliott Sadler took advantage of that.
He's on his way. That might get Mark fired up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if Mark knew the 12 was down there or not, because he was trying to go to the low line, and he was almost leaning his left rear on Newman's right front fender. That could have been big.
Yes. There were a few fast cars coming in a hurry behind him, weren't there? That's Terry Labonte in the 44 car on the inside. He's 1 lap down. More on Mark Martin from Marty.
Let's talk about those two tires and why they decided to take them. Remember, they had the problem with the right front fender earlier, Bill. Got mired back in traffic. The car has not been as good as it was early in the race. Pat Tryson said, you know what? Take the two tires here, see what happens, see if we can get our track position back. Obviously, the car extremely loose for Mark right now, hard to hang on to. And for Elliott Sadler, they've gotten better all night long. They said two tires, why not? We were looking at top 20 at best earlier tonight.
Kasey Kahne under Mark, and that's 4 tires against 2 right there.
And it's just, you know, what we talked about earlier too, Bill, I mean, we really haven't heard much about Elliott Sadler all night. Now, he's clicking off the fastest laps. It's so important to be out front in that clean air. He was fastest that lap by a bunch.
And all those cars that are off the lead lap mix in with the lead lap cars, and that makes it that much tougher to get back to the front. So Mark's two-tire strategy working for now, at least.
Yeah, it might be pretty good for him. Don't forget, you got Jeff Gordon back there. He's the 17th spot right now in the middle of all that traffic.
Well, earlier this race, Mark was out of the top 10 in the championship standings, was 11th. Right now, he's 5th with 52 to go. Just want to make sure we get it in that Casey Mears did come back in and top off in that 42 car. And we heard from pit road their plan is to go the distance. They need a few caution flag laps to help. Let's see. There's Jeff Gordon, 17th. Gordon had to make an unscheduled stop under caution for loose lug nuts. Restarted 25th. Still trying to work his way back up front. Gordon had led 42 laps tonight. Earnhardt Jr. in that pack of traffic there. 13th, Matt.
Bill, just like a 24, he's mired back in traffic now. Junior, remember on the previous stop, they took 2 tires. The car just did not react well to 2 tires. You see him work the outside of the car. Now on 4 tires, Junior felt like they'd gone 3 or 4 more laps. The car was really starting to come to life. There's a 31 Rockets on the bottom.
But the one thing that Junior's got going for him, Matt, is that he's running higher, or he's got that high line down, and nobody else is really running up there. Where guys like Jeff Gordon are running where there's 30 other guys running.
Right.
So the one thing about Junior, he may be able to pass a lot of cars because he's one of the few guys running that really high line.
So that's
right on the bottom right there. Normally after it gets about 15 laps, 20 laps on these tires, you'll see that on top.
Junior right now 10th in the championship standings. 50 to go.
Buddy, doing great. Go to Astro.
Elliott Sadler with a 1.1 second lead over Kasey Kahne. Snyder?
You guys remember earlier we were talking about how Elliott was going to try Kasey Kahne's setup and just see what happened. And in the beginning of the race, it didn't look that good, and Elliott was really complaining about the race car. In fact, at one point, Ray Evanham came on the radio and said, listen, let's just get a top 15 on this thing tonight. But now with the 2-tire change, that's what makes it so great. They had nothing to lose. Take the 2 tires, get out front in that clean air. As you said, Wally, makes all the difference in the world. Alan?
And Kasey Kahne's team director, Kenny Francis, debating with Kasey during the caution laps before the pit stop whether or not to make any changes to this car. Kenny said it was so fast, I'm afraid to touch it. Then just before the car hit pit road, they decided on a small adjustment to try and keep up with track conditions. Kasey now running in the 2nd position after getting shuffled back a little bit from the other guys who got 2 tire stops a minute ago.
And he has clinched the 5 bonus points for leading the most laps, so 5 bonus points for Kasey Kahne. And you have Evernham cars running 1st, 2nd, and 4th right now. Elliott Sadler, Kasey Kahne, and Scott Riggs.
Kasey Kahne's a little bit faster right now than Elliott Sadler. I would pretty much look at him taking the lead here in the next 5 or 6 laps easily.
Yeah, for a Sooner. With those 4 tires, he's pulling up on the 19 in a hurry. That'll be for the lead. Evernham cars running 1st and 2nd at California.
Clear. inside, June. Clear high. Clear by 2 to the 16. Side. Low, inside, inside. Go high, go high. Inside. Clear low, one lane. Clear low, clear low. Side, June. Three wide, three wide. Wide, still outside. Outside. Still high.
And it didn't take that 5 or 6 laps.
It was wishful thinking. I was hoping we could get back before it, but here it is anyway. 4 tires, passing 2 tires, just a matter of time. It was a pretty easy pass for Casey Kane to make.
So Casey Kane back up front. Elliott Sadler is second.
And Sadler's hanging right there. Yeah. I mean, he's still running good lap times.
This is for 7. Hamlin in the 11.
Yeah, you got Kenseth right there. Scott Riggs takes 3rd spot in the bar.
More on Riggs from Dave.
Hey guys, what's final practice for?
Make your car better for the race.
Yeah, practice things. And yesterday, Rodney Childers, the team director for the Tech Car, told me they did some things they weren't sure would work, and they did not. And Scott said, I'm glad you tried them then, because if that was during the race, I'd have cussed you. That's what you say in North Carolina, you get really mad. But Scott Riggs knows what works on the car. Rodney Childers does. They've made minor adjustments, got that track positioning for the 2-tire stop, and racing their way to the front with their team.
Dave, I'm just glad you didn't say what happy hour is for.
You'll have to tell everyone.
This car was good in Michigan. And, you know, it was one of those things where I think this car was better when it got out in front or it didn't have to run in track. It had a lot of clean air. It was really, really fast. If he got in traffic, it seemed like he struggled. So he's in a good spot right now. He's up front. He's in 3rd. There's not a lot of cars around him, and he's running good lap times.
A lot of people talking about Scott Riggs this week because of the way he raced Jeff Gordon last week in the closing laps of race. He stayed behind him. He was patient up until the very last second. He was trying to get around him. And Riggs got around him. He saw those guys talking it over on pit road after the race. But a lot of people, you know, really got introduced to Scott Riggs last week, and they liked what they saw.
Scott did a great job last week at Bristol. He had a faster car than Jeff Gordon. I don't know if there's been many veterans that would have waited that long or not put the bumper to Gordon, but you know what? Scott did a good job, got a great finish. And those guys really have turned that team around. I mean, they obviously had a rough start this year.
Missing the Daytona 500.
Exactly. So, They've done a good job turning that team around.
On board with Jeff Burton. Whoa! What happened there?
Well, that was a saving your life there.
Just in the middle, loose off.
I think so.
And he's out of breath when he said it. So,
Alan?
Yeah, Jeff Burton called in a few laps ago, Bill, and thought he might have had a flat tire. That was at lap number 208, so the crew got up on the wall and got ready. He's hanging on. I guess he's decided he doesn't have a flat, but I think he's also decided he doesn't like this car's handling very much.
and this is just a part of the races these guys have struggled lately. I mean, you know, they've been good to start in the middle, and then they get down to the finish or the last 20, 30 laps of a race, and they lose a lot of spots. They lose a lot of ground.
We talked about it at Indianapolis and at Bristol. The car just got tight. They couldn't get it out of it. It cost them a lot of spots. Dale Earnhardt Jr. More from Matt.
And Junior just made his way around the 01 and Nemechek, who had to pick him. He had a cut left front tire. Junior says the car has really come alive up top in the Richard Petty lane. Steve Beal is following. Junior Bond trying to work his way back up to the clear. He's got the 20 right ahead, trying to reel him in to pick up another spot.
Right behind him is that 24 car. And who was fastest last lap?
That 24 car was that last lap, and he's got
Great job, buddy. Great job. Back it up. Stay after.
A year with that, but they got the car working right now. They did get through traffic. He's in the 11th spot right now.
Matt, you got something on Jeff?
Well, the biggest thing, Bill, they just haven't panicked over the past month and a half when they've had bad runs. They had some great days, sure, but they've had some struggles as well. This team's slowly working their way back at the front, currently in the 11th position, trying to bounce back when they had to hit pit road for missing a couple lugs.
Jeff Gordon missed the chase a year ago, trying to race his way into it tonight. But everybody is chasing Casey Kane. Leads his teammate Elliott Sadler by 1.8. His other teammate Scott Briggs runs third. Evernham 1-2-3 at California.
Clear.
HD 500. Here's Alan Bestwick.
Yeah, if you haven't been with us all night, Bill, let me tell you about Casey Kane's night. He started 9th, he raced his way up to the lead. Then from the lead, he got a pit road speeding penalty that knocked him back to 24th at lap 156. Got from up to 12th on the track under green, up to 2nd on a right side tire only stop, shuffled back to 5th by other guys getting right side tires, raced his way back to the lead. Woo, my notepad's busy, Marty.
Alan has been much less eventful for his teammate Elliott Sadler. They ran about 20th for most of the night. The car would not handle, extremely loose. The sun went down, the car got better. They took on 2 tires, have made it to the front. They're about 3 laps short on fuel, though. That's the only problem, Dave.
And that's what we're going to be watching with everybody. The 17 restarted 7th all the way up to 3rd now. That car has come alive in the nighttime. They've saved the best for last tonight. As far as the 10 car, he got slowed up by the 44. The lap car of Terry Labonte got very tight behind his race car. By the time Matt Kenseth caught him, that's when they got a wave by, but it was too late. Kenseth went by the 10, Matt.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. just told his crew chief, Tony Eury Jr. says this car is just turning so well in the center of the corner and is great on exit, and it shows on the stopwatch as the car turning great laps, moving his way to the front, currently 5th, AB.
Denny Hamlin looked like he had the car to beat in this race. He led most of the time from lap 30 to lap 78, but the car, since falling back into the traffic, has not been able to get back to the front, though Hamlin's still looking for what would be his 6th straight top 10 finish. Kyle Busch lost some track position on the last set of pit stops. We showed you the car led with Greg Biffle's tangled on pit road, but left Biffle's car hanging out in the pit space in front of Kyle Busch's and blocked him in. He lost some spots getting off pit road and was back to 11th after the stops.
He was still a question for just about everybody. You can see the 24, Jeff Gordon, one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, rebounding from the miscue on pit road. Probably one of the top 3 cars speed-wise on the racetrack right now, Marty.
Mark Martin started 38th tonight, Matt. He blasted his way up to the top 5. Then they damaged the right front fender. He spent most of the night running about 20th. 2 tires on the last stop, though, and they're back in the top 10 and back in the chase for the championship, Matt.
2 tires on the last stop for the 99 of Carl Edwards. Got him in track position, but then slowly has begun to fade. Back in the 10th position, about 5 laps short of making it on fuel. Tight in 1 and 2, loose down in 3 and 4. Snyder?
Jimmie Johnson said earlier this week, I want to challenge the 17 team and the RCR teams in these final 2 weeks going into the chase for the championship. We need to build momentum. Currently, Johnson in 11th with a tight race car.
Tony Stewart's fallen out of the top 10. Currently in the 12th spot. The entry still loose. The exit still loose, but they just cannot get a handle on the center of the corner, slowly beginning to fade.
After having a loose race car all night, Kevin Harvick's car finally went to the tight side. They made an adjustment last time, restarted 12th, but really haven't gained any. In fact, have lost a position and should be between 4 and 5 laps short on fuel. Alan?
Tell you about Greg Biffle's night. He bounced off the wall, damaged the body earlier, then cut down a tire at lap 172. He got back on the lead lap. He's picked his way back up to 14th, but he says his car's just kind of sliding around, Dave.
The 41 car, Reed Sorensen, well, he's driven past 8 cars since the restart, and he topped off with fuel. He'll be better than anybody else, Alan.
Well, Jeff Burton, after thinking he had a flat tire, back at lap number 204, still riding it out. You see he's back in 16th position. Burton fighting to hang on to a place in the top 10 in the chase for the next L Cup.
You're going to see a lot of gas and goes.
Yeah, we saw that in this race 1 year ago, almost the same scenario, and then it ended under green-white checkers. Casey Kane, the race leader, 25 to go in the California Speedway. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. continues to lead at the California Speedway. 229 laps are complete. He leads by 6.8 seconds over his teammate Elliott Sadler. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the man on the move, just turned the fastest lap. He's in third. Then it's Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon in fifth. And we just watched Gordon and his old buddy Scott Riggs race around here for a couple of laps.
Yep, they're duking it out. And Jeff Gordon is up to fifth spot. Earnhardt closing in on Elliott Sadler for second spot. In fact, here it is right here. This will be the pass for second spot.
Yes, it would be.
Into that high groove.
Yep, got his groove back.
And like I said, that's really good for him to work that.
Lowe, that was 20 to go right there, 20.
So everybody else is running the middle of the bottom. He's running where everybody isn't.
Greg Biffle on pit road. They had topped off under the last caution, but as Alan had talked about, his car not handling very well. AB?
They're going to take a gamble here. They won't go anywhere on the track, so they're going to come in, a quick chassis adjustment, and 2 tires for Greg Biffle. See if the fresh tires help them gain some time on the other guys that are going to be out there running on older tires after they're splashing down some fuel.
We're in a situation where most of these guys, basically just about everybody's going to have to do a splash and go. Marty?
Wow, we got tires.
Well, yeah, and what the 16 and 48 teams are trying to do while they're trying to force everybody else's hand by pitting early, taking on 2 tires. Jimmie Johnson's car too tight, pounding the right rear. They're also up on the.
Ready, 16, go hard, go hard.
Short pit here. Now they force other cars to pit with them.
19 laps to go. There's your race leader, Casey Kane. Take a final green flag commercial break and come back and take you to the checkers at California.
Coming this time.
Come in for a couple of seconds worth of fuel in order to make it to the finish. You don't need much.
Matt Kenseth came, and Robbie Reiser called for 2 right side tires. They had a problem with the right front, took a long time, and that cost Kenseth a lot of position.
And that's something that he can't afford to do right there. You know, Matt can.
Right, because he's already locked into the chase.
Right, but Casey Kane can't, so be real interested to see if these guys take on rights or just fuel. I don't think just gas.
Right now, Casey Kane 11th in the championship standings, 39 points out of 10. The top 10 drivers make the chase. Casey Kane is the race leader. Kane has led 127 of the 236 laps tonight. Won here last night. Now Kenseth swept Bristol last weekend. Kane trying to sweep California. Kevin Harvick on pit road. Another guy trying to lock up his spot in the chase. He could do it by finishing third or better tonight. Dave, what's his strategy?
Loose in the corner, tied up. They're going to put 2 right side tires on. This is considered early enough to take advantage of the new rubber, Wally. I think that's why guys are doing it like the 17 car. Because now they're running and trying to run faster laps for the guys who will start late, not take on any rubber, and run slower laps.
I see what you're saying, Dave, but I just don't. I mean, you're losing an extra 5 or 6 seconds on the racetrack by putting those tires on. But more importantly, you can make a mistake.
Which the 17
pit this time. Oh,
Kenseth is scored in 22nd. First car off the lead lap. Right behind him, Jimmie Johnson. Alan, here comes the 9.
Yeah, here's where all the pressure is on the driver now, Bill. Get down to the speed limit before that commitment line there. Don't speed down pit road despite your excitement of trying to win the race. Get smoothly to a stop in your stall. Then the pressure transfers to the crew. They're going to make a right side tire change on this 9 car. And
Jeff, you're going to have a 10 to go. 10 to go. How's it driving? Gas only, need a few seconds.
Get up to speed, don't speed, and get back up onto the track as quickly as you can on those fresh right side tires. So far, smooth.
Gas only. Gas only. Go on me.
Right
Go on
side
me.
tires and
Run on the side. Run on the side.
Go when the jack drops on the tire.
All right. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Go, 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 go.
And it's a fuel-only stop for Jeff Gordon. He only needed about 3.5 to 4 seconds of fuel. No time.
Go hard.
24. AB.
Right side tires for Kyle Busch. Down and away. We'll see Denny Hamlin in this lap. Look for him to take fuel only. Matt?
And the 8 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. on his way down to his pit stall. They have tires on the wall, possibly just fuel only though for the 8. The 20 is Stewart, right side tires only. They are going to go tires on the Dale Earnhardt Jr. slid in his pit box. Fortunately did not slide through it. The car is at an angle. Left rod, he's finally away, Marty.
Mark Martin has already left pit road. He was struggling with those tires that were on the car, so he wanted 2 fresh right side tires and the fuel to make it all the way to the end. No chassis changes.
7.3 seconds on the stop for Kane, 8.7 on the stop for Earnhardt, 4.9 seconds on the stop for Gordon. Carl Edwards makes his way on the pit road. 11 laps to go. Edwards gives up the lead to come down pit road. Matt?
Bill Carl was one of those drivers that took the 2 right side tires for the gamble on his way down to his pit box. The sign waving up and down. Let's see if he too goes for the tires. They were going back for fuel only for Edwards. Just a quick splash. He's away.
Just before we went back to green, under the caution, Clint Boyer, Reed Sorensen, Casey Mears, among the drivers that topped off. Hearing that Sorensen plans to stay out. We heard that Mears plans to go to the finish. There's Sorensen. Dave Burns.
They radioed to Reed, buddy, we're staying out. We're going to win this thing.
And he said, no, I need to come in for tires, right?
No, he said that putting on tires would delay his run to victory lane there, Walt.
Okay.
Wow, Reed Sorensen out front with 9 to go. JJ,
nobody around him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, yeah. I don't know. I'm just surprised at some of those tire changes there.
I'm with you. Reed Sorensen looking for his first NASCAR Next Cup Series win. Yelich is crew chief. Drives for Chip Ganassi. Felix Sabatis. Dave, you down there?
Yep, this is a brand new race car for them this weekend. This one very strong. He's one of the top 15.
And it's going to be 4th spot, and the 17 behind you is going to be 4th spot. Keep doing it, bud.
Didn't the Chip Ganassi car maybe in the Busch Series take a fuel gamble earlier this year and win?
Yeah.
The 42 of Casey.
Yep. It was at
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicagoland. But you're fading out on us there, Dave. Still there. Reed Sorensen is just 20 years old from Peachtree City, Georgia. Sorensen leads. An update on Casey Kane in fourth from Apple.
Yeah, well, even though he may not get the win tonight, if this fuel mileage gamble pays off for some of these other drivers, Casey Kane and his team wanted to come in here tonight, run all the laps, get a top 5 finish if they could. They got bonus points for leading and leading the most laps tonight, and they're going to finish ahead of all of those guys that are chasing in the race to the chase. So, provided things go well for these next 6 laps, exactly what they needed to accomplish tonight for Casey Kane in the 9 car, even if they're disappointed at not winning.
It is a great finish for them, but they're going to lose this race. Like they won it last night.
Right. But they may not. I think these guys, it's going to be a lot closer for these guys.
You think so?
Yeah, than it was for him last night. Right now it's Sorensen, J.J. Yaley, and Clint Boyer running the top 3. Kane is 4th, 9.8 seconds behind Sorensen.
Yeah, but he's only a second and a half behind second place Yaley. So he's going to, Kane will probably pass Boyer and Yaley, who's the second and third spot. And then Reed Sorensen, if he does run out of gas, then Kane's right there. What are they saying, Dave, on the 18?
Dave? He did follow that.
So there we got J.J. Yaley there, the 18 car in second place. Casey Kane now takes over third spot from Clint Boyer.
Sorensen. 4 to go this time.
Now, they told him, I don't know what they've told him, because, David, James still around. Yeah, I mean, again, that's exactly right. David, they told him, okay, you got fuel, go for it, or we're just going for it.
Go for it and pedal easy. Okay. Now, we've had a discussion about long gears before. What's pedal easy mean? Well, you're in your long gear. Save fuel, Reed. You can make it, but save some. J.J. Yaley on pit road. Sorry about that earlier. They were short, and they just stopped for a second here and threw fuel into the 18 car.
Casey Kane has made his way to second, as Wally said he would, and he's a second.
He was a second a lot faster than Reed Sorensen. It's not going to be enough, but
only 3 to go.
Bobbles just a little bit. Reed Sorensen. Casey Kane's going to be there to pounce, Alan.
And he just came on his radio while he asked his team director, Kenny Francis, is the 41 going to make it? Kenny's answer was, I don't know.
I just saw a car down low. I'm not sure who that was, but that could have been somebody running out of fuel.
J.J. Yaley. More on Sorensen, Dave.
Okay, new definition for pedaling. They said, Reed, pedaler good, pedaler big. Here comes the 9 car. I guess pedaling means drive hard.
Well, you may as well, because you're not coming in.
Stanley, still got 6 seconds, 2 more to go.
So obviously they made a decision. They're going to run out or they're going to win this thing trying, so.
See if it'll pick up.
Don't worry about that long gear is what I'm saying, Dave.
Reed Sorensen, just 1 top 5, 5 top 10s
he's out of gas.
this year.
He's out of gas.
Where's out of gas, Jimmie?
And watch Casey Kane come roaring by in that red car. They gambled and lost. Casey Kane to the lead, and will come to the white flag this time. And there's not even a threat behind him.
And they did what they talked about earlier in the race, or earlier today. Just go out and win the race. Let everybody else do whatever they got to do. This is what these guys need to do to even have a shot at making the chase.
Won 4 of the first 15 races this year, but has struggled since. Tonight, he has led 129 laps of this 250-lap race. This is the final lap. Casey Kane came in here 11th in the championship standings, and as Wally said, he's going to beat everybody and put himself in position to make the chase next week at Richmond. Earnhardt goes to second. Casey Kane comes off of turn 4. He won last night in the Busch race. Casey Kane sweeps at California.
run for Earnhardt Jr.
And Clint Boyer.
Yeah, those guys. Earnhardt's going to feel a lot better after tonight with his record here in Fontana going into Richmond next Saturday.
Casey had a big week, had charity events in Washington and here in California Wednesday and Thursday. Came here and won the Busch race last night and celebrates his win tonight here at California. His 5th of the season after winning 4 times in the first 15 races. Big win for him, big night for Ray Evernham and Evernham Motorsports. Kasey Kahne, one of the popular young stars in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, 26 years old. He's got the checkered flag. His 6th career victory. You know where he got his first NASCAR Nextel Cup win?
I believe that was in Richmond, Bill.
It certainly was.
It's going to be a happy place here. Any question what this win means to this team, I think, was just answered. Congratulations. Could you have imagined this night going as well as it did? One section accepted. Could you imagine the night turning out like it did?
Not really. This was an unbelievable night to fall down a lap there. I just got over the speed limit. I didn't even notice it. I think it was just that close. We were right on the edge, and these guys fought back, had great pit stops. Dodge dealers, your AW Dodge Charger was really fast all night, and we got better when the sun went down for sure. I just can't thank this team enough. They worked their butts off trying to get us back in this chase, and this is the only way we can do it, is to lead the most laps and win a race, and at least it'll give us hope at Richmond next week.
When you got the penalty and were shuffled back to 24th, was there ever a thought of, okay, it's over tonight?
No thought at all. I was all out, man. We had to get back to the front, and Kenny did 2 tires. I think I passed about 10 cars, and then we did 2 tires and went from 12th to the lead, or to 2nd behind Junior, and then battled by Junior and led some laps. So awesome engine, Evernham engine, the best engine I've ever had, and just everybody that supports this team, Stanley, McDonald, Siemens, the UAW, they're all great people. Hopefully we can make the chase for them.
You're now 11th in points as you were, but you're now just 30 behind 10th place going to Richmond. A thought?
Yeah, I wasn't sure how far we'd be back, but 30 is a lot closer to 90, and could have been a lot worse than 90. So it's a big jump. Anything can happen at Richmond. It's going to be a wild race there, and hopefully we're on the good side of things. We got 5 wins. That's the most out here.
Congratulations on a great night.
Thanks a lot.
Kasey Kahne, winner tonight in California, and a huge win, Bill.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.